Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite_UK Soccer. Rugby is not just about tactics, it is about belief, loyalty, and pressure at the highest level, as reflected in the story of Rassie Erasmus and Tony Brown. If you enjoy the deep, human-centered perspective I analyze below, please subscribe to the channel. A personal perspective. From my personal point of view, the story surrounding Rassie Erasmus, Tony Brown, and the speculation about the future of the Springboks coaching staff is far more than a simple sports news item. It is a vivid snapshot of power, loyalty, performance pressure, national identity, and the human reality of coaches working at the very top of world rugby. I came to realize that behind statements that appear very media-trained lie multiple layers of meaning, emotion, and deeply human contradictions. 1. Elite rugby is not just about tactics, but about politics and trust. What impressed me most was how Rassie Erasmus spoke about contracts and coaching stability. On the surface, he was talking about contractual terms, commitments through 2027, and the fact that Tony Brown will not leave the Springboks before the World Cup. But at a deeper level, this was a declaration of leadership philosophy. Modern rugby, especially at the level of top national teams like the Springboks or the All Blacks, is no longer just a game played by 15 players on the field. It is a battle of an entire ecosystem: coaches, administrators, unions, media, and public opinion. In that context, Erasmus clearly understands that even rumors of instability can create invisible cracks within a team. I sensed a very real anxiety in Erasmus. The World Cup is a double-edged sword. It can lift you to the pinnacle of glory, but it can also cost an entire coaching staff their jobs after a single defeat. His experiences since 2007, and more recently the situation surrounding Jacques Nienaber after the 2023 World Cup, are clearly etched into his thinking. Locking in the coaching staff with long-term contracts is therefore not just a management strategy, it is also a way to protect morale and protect people.
2. Tony Brown, the image of the globalized coach. In this story, Tony Brown emerges as a symbol of modern rugby, a coach no longer constrained by national borders, yet still pulled by his sense of home and identity. As a New Zealander with deep ties to the Highlanders, All Blacks 15, and the Japanese national team, Brown carries Kiwi rugby DNA. That explains why, despite working and succeeding in South Africa, he openly admits that he would love to coach the New Zealand national team. To me, that statement is neither betrayal nor unprofessional. On the contrary, it is profoundly human. For any coach, leading their home nation is the ultimate dream, a call from one's roots. What deserves respect is that Brown has drawn a very clear line. Dreams are one thing. Professional commitments are another. His insistence that there is no clause allowing him to leave the Springboks before 2027, and that he will fully honor his contract, reflects a serious and ethical professional attitude. 3. Erasmus's frustration, the genuine emotion of a leader. When Erasmus admitted that he was a little annoyed by the speculation around Brown's future, I genuinely empathized with him. In elite sport, where the media constantly chases sensational headlines and fans are easily drawn into dramatic narratives, the emotions of those inside the system are often overlooked. Erasmus is not frustrated because Brown wants to return to New Zealand. He is frustrated because people are questioning the honesty and professionalism of someone in his team. It is the frustration of a leader who has placed trust in a colleague, built long-term plans together, and yet must repeatedly face questions like, will he leave? From a personal standpoint, I see Erasmus not only defending Brown, but also defending the internal culture of the Springboks. A team that has won back-to-back World Cups cannot function on mutual suspicion. Trust, in this context, is the most valuable asset of all. 4. The shadow of the All Blacks and pressure from New Zealand. There is no denying that the dismissal of Scott Robertson sent shockwaves through New Zealand rugby, and as a result, names like Tony Brown were immediately drawn into the rumour mill. The All Blacks are not just a team, they are a cultural symbol and a source of national pride. Every coaching decision therefore carries immense weight. Jamie Joseph's emergence as a leading candidate, combined with his close working history with Brown, made the idea of a reunion irresistible to the media. But that very appeal has unintentionally placed pressure on Brown and the Springboks. Here, I see a fascinating contrast between two rugby cultures. New Zealand, where expectations are absolute and unforgiving. South Africa, under Erasmus, striving to build a more sustainable system where people are better protected from the storms of results. 5. World Cup 2027, a convergence of hope and uncertainty. In this narrative, the 2027 World Cup in Australia feels like a fateful milestone, both a destination and a dividing line. Every current commitment revolves around that date. Beyond 2027, everything becomes uncertain. Personally, I feel a slight pang of sadness thinking about this. Because regardless of whether the Springboks succeed or fail, the possibility of Tony Brown leaving after the World Cup is very real. And that raises a bigger question in elite sport. Does true long-term stability ever really exist? Perhaps the answer is no. But what matters, as Erasmus has shown, is minimizing instability during the most critical period, the build-up to a World Cup. 6. Personal reflection. Loyalty does not mean staying forever. The biggest lesson I take from this story is a deeply human view of loyalty. Loyalty does not necessarily mean staying forever. Sometimes, loyalty simply means fulfilling your role for the time you have committed to, with full dedication and responsibility. Tony Brown shows loyalty to the Springboks by honoring his contract, shutting down rumours, and continuing to contribute. Rassie Erasmus shows loyalty by protecting his coaching staff and creating stability and transparency. And even Brown's desire to coach the All Blacks, when viewed honestly, is also a form of loyalty, loyalty to his roots and personal dream, a rugby story that reflects life. In the end, I realized that this story goes far beyond rugby. It mirrors many aspects of modern life, the tension between personal dreams and collective responsibility, pressure from public opinion and media, anxiety about career futures in an ever-changing world. For me, the way Rassie Erasmus and Tony Brown face these pressures, with clarity, honesty, and mutual respect, is the most admirable part of all. Whatever happens after 2027, at least for now, the Springboks can move forward on a solid foundation, trust, commitment, and professionalism, and perhaps, in a sport as unforgiving as rugby, that alone is already a quiet, but profoundly important victory. Rugby.
In short, this is not just a rugby story, but a story about trust, commitment, and elite-level pressure. If you love rugby and thoughtful, in-depth perspectives, subscribe to Scrum Masters Elite_UK and join me on this journey.